Hi, I'm Nicholas McGurr, author of The Afterlife and host for Stories in a Cemetery. You can find all my fiction works with themes of the afterlife on nicholasmcgurr.com. That's NICHOLASMCGIRR.com. As a writer, I do research, and that research is more than likely inside a haunted location or a cemetery. Like you, I'm curious about the afterlife and always looking for a new topic for my next book. I hope you enjoy this episode of my research as much as I did in using it for my fiction works. Let's get into today's Story in the Cemetery. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 5. Thank you so much for keeping up with the past 4 episodes. I can see things are growing, so that means you guys are sharing, liking, and checking out some of the things that we've been talking about here on Stories in the Cemetery, and I cannot thank you enough. So again, keep those shares going. It's a big deal to help the podcast grow. So, lots of things. Let's do some housekeeping and let's get some things out of the way. So I will tell you that coming soon, I will have several episodes based on my very short trip over to Savannah, Georgia. Very haunted location. I will tell you that we stayed at a haunted inn. That would be Foley House Inn. So I can't wait to tell you about the things that happened there. And we took a tour through the Sorrel Weed House. So if you're unfamiliar, these are all haunted locations. It was a very haunted weekend for April and I, and we had a blast. I have some really cool stuff to tell you guys. Of course, I want to piece everything together, but I was already working on this particular episode, so I wanted to definitely get it out there. So with some of the social media posts that I put out there ahead of time to kind of preamp the Can Dogs See Spirits episode. So again, super excited to tell you guys about Savannah. We had a blast. We saw some stuff. We heard some stuff. And of course, I got some stories to tell. So can't wait for that. So be on the lookout. Just stay tuned and make sure that you subscribe to Stories in a Cemetery and other exciting news of ways that you can see the new episodes. I, as promised, started the Facebook page for this podcast, Stories in the Cemetery. So that is at Stories in the Cemetery. Super easy to find. Not a whole lot of content on there yet, but of course, as all of you, the fans, will start to like, follow, and please share the page to grow. Share these stories with your friends that like creepy stuff too. So again, at Stories in a Cemetery on Facebook, or you can just type it in however you want to do it. But it is there, and of course you'll see the logo, so it's easily recognizable. And I will see you in the Facebook page. I'm sure I will end up starting a group for this page as well, so that you guys can share your stories back to me with some of the topics that I'm going to go over in the future. So I am so looking forward to that, guys. That's going to be awesome. Can't wait to swap some ghost stories. That's going to be great. So I am going to get the book sponsor out of the way. This is Can Dogs See Spirits? So obviously this week's book is going to be Byron. If you don't know about Byron, he is my dapple dachshund. He's absolutely adorable, and you should read his book. In the book, he is able to see disembodied spirits or out-of-body experienced folks. So his owner has the ability to have out-of-body experiences and visit the afterlife. So that is obviously the sponsor for this week's episode. I wanted to also thank the sponsors for my books this past week. Sales have been skyrocketing, so thank you for those of you that have downloaded my free books, and for those of you that have purchased my novels that were not free this past week. So can't thank you enough. Those book sales, and of course my future patrons on Patreon, are going to help with Stories in a Cemetery podcast by having more trips like I did in Savannah. Could be other locations, could be further away from my tri-state area, but of course I need your patronage to help out with that. I need cool stories to tell you guys, and I can't always keep that going with the funds. So make sure you check out my Patreon page, and of course there are goodie bags with books, of course, when you become a patron. So be sure to check that out. I'll put the link in the show notes for the episode. So, dogs seeing spirits. Do you think it can be? I do. And I want to talk about how I even got into this. So this probably started, I can't even remember how old I was, to be quite honest. I was actually searching for photos of me and my dog that I had when I was a little boy. And his name was Toby, and he was an English Springer Spaniel. I love that dog. He was awesome. We got that dog from a friend of my father's, and he just wasn't mixing well with their family. It's not that he wasn't obedient or trained or anything like that. He just did not fit in well. He was a little large, for their family size. So our family took him in, and Toby and I were best friends. Just like any kid and his dog. I mean, we were best friends. He was an English Springer Spaniel, and he was gorgeous. He was a purebred, and he was liver in color along the top, and he had white paws with the spotted liver around his legs and whatnot. Gorgeous animal. I was actually trying to find pictures to post, for the blog, but just couldn't stumble upon him. But anyway, Toby, my folks were pretty strict with the way Toby was allowed to do things. So he was allowed, like, on the first floor of our house, but he wasn't allowed on furniture. His fur was too long, and my folks just did not want to deal with the fur on the furniture. So it's not so much true for Byron now. He owns furniture. But anyway, Toby, he was, allowed, in the regular living area. So the living room, dining room, kitchen area. That was about the gist of where he was allowed to go. We had a multi-floor house, and the bedrooms were upstairs. And Toby was not allowed upstairs. Just flat out. My parents said he's not to be upstairs at all. So, needless to say, when my parents weren't home, Toby was upstairs. I'd be upstairs in my bedroom playing video games, and of course, Toby was right there along with me. But what I will tell you, and why this sparked interest with today's topic, is my parents' bedroom. Toby would not go near that bedroom. He would stop at that threshold. And no matter what I did, I could call him in with his favorite treats, and he loved cheese, and there was no way I was getting that dog inside that bedroom. It didn't matter what I did. It was weird and uncanny. And of course, my brother growing up, swore that he saw a ghost in that room at some point, and of course it was a little urban legend around the house. We kind of teased him about it, but of course it piqued my curiosity, and to me the proof was with Toby. Toby wouldn't go in that room, no matter what we did. It was crazy. So the reason why I brought up this topic, and of course we never did find out why, so just to kind of clarify, I at the age of 9 to 11 years old, I was not out ghost hunting and debunking things, so to speak. But these days with Byron, he's a year and a half now, and over the past couple of months, we've noticed some behaviors with him that may show the spark of he might be seeing something that we don't. So in the middle of the night, Toby, I was talking about Toby, Byron, he'll get up in the middle of the night, and he sleeps in bed with us. He's a dachshund, so he's not very large. But he'll get up in the middle of the night, and he will literally sit at the edge of the bed and just bark and bark and bark at nothing. And we could kind of debunk that a little bit and say, well, Nick, you do live in an apartment. There's noises and people upstairs and, that kind of thing. But this is the dead of the night. There's nothing going on. I mean, you can't even hear crickets outside. So that kind of got us going a little bit. But a few other times, Byron would literally, like, I'd be watching TV. Byron will get down off the couch, from sitting next to me, and he'll just bark at nothing. And he will not lose his stare. I mean, he will find whatever it is that he doesn't like, and he's staring at it, and he's barking. And there's low growls in between, like he's trying to protect us. So what's he seeing? What is it that dogs do and see that we can't? So I started diving into this, and I really wanted to know, like, what is it that dogs see? So what's the rumor? And you all know what the rumor is, guys. It's the dogs see in black and white. Well, it's kind of BS. So I started diving in, and I wanted to know, how is it that a dog can see things differently than we can? Maybe that they can see a different plane. Let's face it, they have extrasensory senses that we don't have. You know, a dog can smell something, I think it's like half a mile away. A dog can hear something up to a mile away. So why do they have these super senses, and yet the science that we have on their vision, it is completely says that they have better, how do I put this? They have a better, wider angle of things that we can, but their depth perception isn't as strong as ours. And they have a dichromatic vision, whereas we have a trichromatic. And I'm probably not saying that right. I'm going to bring up my blog post just to be certain. So what that means is that a dog can basically see the colors of blue and yellow and everything in between. So, yes, so we have trichromatic vision, and dogs have a dichromatic vision. And I found this super interesting. So I wanted to see, like, visually see what a dog sees. So once I found out, like, this little bit of science, and it's not news, it's all over the internet, there are apps out there that show a dichromatic vision compared to a trichromatic vision. I tried out several of them. They're all about the same. I'm not going to sit here and promote any of them. They're actually all pretty good. They all make sense. So the one that I found, it actually horizontally, if you flip your phone sideways horizontally, you can, on the top will show you the human vision, and on the bottom will show you a dog's vision. Guys, this was amazing. I was walking around my apartment, and of course April's laughing at me because I wanted to see, what does Byron see? They can't see the color red, basically. So one thing that I found out is that dog shows will commonly use the colors of blue and yellow so that a dog can see things visually. Because when you're looking at this dichromatic vision with the app, man, I love technology. The fact that I can just do that and look it up and play with it for a little while. I wondered if that the color red far away kind of makes things blurry for a dog. Now, the depth perception of a human, as we all know, can be 20/20 vision. We don't have the wide angle that a dog has, but dogs have I think it was it 80/20? I think that's how that worked. So correct me if I'm wrong. In a nutshell, they basically can't see as far as we can as clearly. So if somebody's wearing the color red, which kind of blues things out a little bit when you look things through the app, does it become blurry and therefore some type of spiritual action for them? And that really raised my curiosity. Now, granted, they don't know the difference between a solid human and a spirit, and they're not going to say, hey, dude, I just saw a spirit, and I'm going to bark. They're not going to do that. So, again, to them, it's just something blurry and could be something that they're not recognizing as something of substance, like a human or a person or a thing. That's just not the way they're going to, perceive what is off there in the distance and without any of the colors between blue and yellow. So that could be super interesting. I'm not trying to debunk this. I'm just trying to understand like why dogs do what they do. And that being said, I also wanted to really dive into why they have such extra superpowered senses. And I don't really have the answer other than, obviously dogs are made differently than humans. But this is such an interesting topic of why dogs, there's videos, you can Google dogs see spirits and there will be tons of videos, there'll be tons of articles, there'll be tons of explanations, tons of believers that believe dogs can see spirits, and I think that they can see something. I would just like to know more about what it is. So, in a nutshell, guys, this is a super, super interesting topic. If you've had experiences with your pets, whether it's a cat, a dog, reptile, your bird, what are they doing that makes you think that they can actually see spirits? I want to hear your stories. Just like I've asked you guys in the past, there are all of these videos, and some of them are really cool. I mean, there's videos of dogs jumping at nothing, like somebody's holding something up for him. There's other dogs that are just growling at nothing. Cats with their hairs on end. Guys, there's something to this. I just don't know what it is exactly. It's one of those things where I don't know that we will ever be able to prove it, and we can try to dive into the scientific dichromatic versus trichromatic vision, but I really think that this has to do with how sensitive an animal is to the spirit world. Same way we as humans are. It's not that every person, can, become a psychic medium and have those abilities. And you all know that I believe in mediumship. I believe it's a huge deal. I think it's something that we are missing out on. I think we all have that small sixth sense. We just don't know how to hone it. I also don't think that some of us can fully develop it. Is that the same truth for animals? Byron's here with me, and he wants to play. So I've been working on the blog and recording this podcast for a while. So he wants to play. So I'm going to promise him that we are going to play as soon as I'm done recording. But again, guys, let's hear your stories. Go to the Facebook page. Again, that's at Stories in a Cemetery. Post up anything that you may have had an experience with. I want to hear what those stories are. Let's see pictures of your pets. Let's see those videos of some things that they might be doing that could, raise the question of what are they seeing that is scaring them or causing them to want to protect you and your family. There's a lot out there already, but if we can do this amongst ourselves, we can actually start some conversations and kind of raise some more questions. So again, guys, I can't thank you enough for following me. And if you're a subscriber to this, I know that list is growing, and I can't thank you enough. I really want to engage with you all more, so that's why I started that Facebook page. And of course, if you haven't checked out, my books yet, you can go to my website, nicholasmcgirr.com. That's NicholasMcgirr.com, or you can look up that name or Nick Knight on Amazon to find all of my works. I don't want to push this into a big long promotion of my books and whatnot, but the reason for this podcast is to talk about the research and the topics that I use when I'm writing my books. So I find it super interesting. I find a ton of information. I want to share it with you guys. I want to, create that Facebook group once the page grows a little bit. If it, another Facebook group is something that you're not truly interested in, let me know. Just throw it up there on the Facebook page. Just, let me know. It might be, it's not built yet. So if it's not something we're all going to utilize and share with each other and chat with each other, let me see those posts first, and I'll kind of gauge things to see how quickly it grows. This podcast is growing, pretty quickly, quicker than I expected, and I'm grateful for that. I just want to see how far we can take it. So share this with your friends. Make sure you give it a like, and if you are listening to this on iTunes, I would appreciate any reviews. Reviews are huge for the podcast. But let's go back to, can dogs see spirits? I think they can. I don't have enough proof. I would love to have enough proof. So again, let's see the stories that you guys have. Put them up on the page. Be sure to look out for the next couple of episodes. I have a few more haunted stories to tell of locations that I visited. I'm trying to think other than Savannah. I do have Litchfield Plantation. So if Litchfield in the Pawleys Island area is something of interest to you, be on the lookout for that. And of course, I'm going to do probably a full episode on the Foley House Inn. That's in Savannah, Georgia, and the Sorrel Weed House. That is also in Savannah. And guys, I do have stories from when I was there. I was there for maybe 2 days, 48-hour time span, and there was a lot of things that happened while I was there. I can't wait to share it with you and share some of those photos. However, if you want to read the full transcript for this podcast and you want to share that link, that would be awesome as well. Of course, you can go to my blog, which is on the website, and I've already given you the address. I will not repeat it again because it'll be repeated in the outro. So guys, of course, as always, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for listening. And again, be sure to check out the Stories in a Cemetery Facebook page. And of course, when you become a patron on Patreon, that's only going to help me visit more locations so I can continue delivering you more stories in the cemetery. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening to today's Story in a Cemetery. Be sure to check out the show notes with pictures and bonus audio sections on nicholasmcgurr.com. As you know, I'm a writer, and now you have another story that inspires me to write my fiction works. Be sure to share this episode on your social media or leave me comments on the Stories in a Cemetery Facebook page. I'll see you next time with another Story in the Cemetery.